All right, everyone. A bunch of states, including my own right now, are up in arms. In arms, really funny, about these 3D printed guns. Cody Wilson, of course, years ago created sort of the first plans for a primitive 3D printed gun. At the time, entirely plastic. Could fire maybe 5 to 10 shots reliably before it began to become a little more tenuous as to whether it would continue to function. The idea was a topical self-defense weapon that was designed specifically, and this is admittedly true, to not be traceable. It's essentially a stopgap against tyranny. The concept is that you want weapons that aren't easily traceable, that can be manufactured in a person's home. Very topical weapons. This is not, it's a high-grade firearm. It's not a machine gun or something. They have, however, created now the ability to make fully metal weapons in 3D printers. Those are a little bit different, more serviceable, more reliable, probably. Again, though, if you don't know what you're doing, I would think you could accidentally blow your head off. So yeah, you take that with a grain of salt, and it'd be expensive. It's like, I think the expense overall, getting a 3D printer and printing the parts and assembling them, assuming you even have the expertise, would be greater than simply buying that same gun, manufactured in the normal sense. And people can mill like 80% receivers and stuff anyway, so, whatever. Here's the thing, though. Like, Pennsylvania pressured Cody Wilson to ban the distribution of these files to Pennsylvanians. Like, if you're connecting from somewhere in Pennsylvania, you can't, I guess, download them. And it's like, it's a fucking file. You can get it from someone in some other state. Or you can use a VPN if you're in Pennsylvania, and it's unconstitutional anyway. The law is fairly clear. The states are bound by the Second Amendment, too. They're also bound by the First Amendment. This is a First, not a Second Amendment issue. The plans themselves are not a firearm any more than the anarchist cookbook is an explosive device or a chemical weapon. Not the same thing. Look, and we've had this conversation, like for decades, it was the anarchist cookbook, literally speaking, along with other similar works. It's like, well, this book teaches how to do potentially illegal and dangerous things. It should be banned, but you can't ban it. First Amendment, bitch. That's all it boils down to. You can't ban it. It itself is not a firearm, an explosive, or anything else under the sun. Just because it teaches you something that could be potentially illegal doesn't mean with a proper disclaimer it's illegal in and of itself. I think you can buy copies of it on Amazon and shit still. Nobody cares. How is this any different? The file itself is not a firearm. I can't take the file on a flash drive and take the flash drive, put a bullet in it, fire it. The flash drive's not a fucking, the CD I've got it on or whatever. That's not a weapon. The 3D printer's not a weapon. The parts individually are not weapons. Even fully assembled, they're barely a weapon if it's one of these early plastic versions. Yeah, it's a weapon. It's just not particularly great. It's basically, you're in an occupied country where guns are outlawed, but if you can obtain a 3D printer, you can at least have a little self-defense. This is not a problem. They're acting like this is going to become a systemic issue where all of a sudden plastic guns are going to be used in every crime. People who are in gangs already illegally obtain perfectly mundane, normal, regular, everyday milled weapons, including ones that are sometimes untraceable. I think they're called ghost guns, among other things. They already do that. What the fuck are you concerned about? Yes, I'm sure that this gang member, this small-time drug dealer, felon, not allowed to own a gun, instead of getting a $100 heavily used piece from the back of some dude's van that he stole from a house the other night, instead of doing that, he's going to buy a $1,500 3D printer and print out a bunch of guns for him and his friends. Guns that won't even necessarily be 100% serviceable. Yes, I'm sure that this dude who dropped out of middle school to sell crack, I'm sure that he has the expertise to manufacture this weapon. I don't think so. I don't think that that's likely. I think that this is a witch hunt. And that's exactly what it is. And by the way, you've got the left here arguing against the same free and open internet that they said before they wanted so badly. All of a sudden, they don't like that anymore because this is literally nothing more than data. It's computer data. In and of itself, it is nothing. It's just a fucking string of ones and zeros that happen to be compiled properly into a file by a machine capable of reading it and utilizing it that can then create parts to a weapon. But the thing is, people can already mill their own receivers and stuff. They can already manufacture all of the components of a weapon and very quickly finish it and assemble it if they've got the expertise to do so. And it'll probably be better than the kind that are coming out of a 3D printer and cheaper too. So what's the fucking point of banning this? They're like, oh, it's going to cause a scourge of untraceable weapons. Look, thousands of people have already downloaded the files. Good luck. Go ahead and tell Cody Wilson, hey, you can't host these files on your site. They're already out there. People already downloaded them. Way too many people to trace. And trust me, the kind of people that got a hold of the link to download before it was technically legal to do so, they're not the sort of people who are revealing their location very easily to their internet service provider. Good luck tracing them all. They'll distribute those files themselves. By the way, it's like Cody Wilson says, okay, we won't offer this in Pennsylvania. What's to stop me from taking the file and offering it to everyone and saying, yeah, fuck Pennsylvania law. I'm a Vermonter. You can't do shit. You can't stop me. You can literally do nothing about it without me suing you anyway, so fuck off. It's a Second Amendment issue. It's a First Amendment issue. In a way, it's a Fourth Amendment issue. This 3D printer, these files in the privacy of your own home, why can't you manufacture these parts? A piece of a gun is not a gun. If I have the handle to a shotgun, it is not a shotgun for legal purposes. It cannot fire. It cannot do anything until assembled with the rest of the weapon. Therein lies the differentiation. You're not creating an entire, fully functioning, fully complete gun. You're creating components of a firearm. Yeah, that includes like the AR-15 receiver, which I believe is still in most of these plans made of plastic. I'm not sure that that's a good idea. I'm pretty sure it would melt after the first couple of shots. I'm pretty sure you'd kill yourself, so I don't recommend that. As far as these other designs, I don't know. I don't think I'm interested in them. I'm more interested in just buying a regular old standard, properly milled, totally manually made firearm. That's more the thing that I'm into. But if someone's like, hey, they're like survivalistic, they want a weapon that isn't traceable, I'm not going to automatically assume that they're a criminal for wanting that. I don't think the government should trace any firearms. Fuck them. No, absolutely not. It's not necessary. It doesn't matter. Half the time, if it's gang violence, which is most of the firearm violence we have in the country anyway, that's not suicide or accidental discharge, half the time it's probably an untraceable illegal weapon anyway, so who cares? It's entirely pointless. It's also unenforceable. Let's say that the states get together, they sue, the Trump administration bends before them and says, okay, we're going to ban the distribution of these files. They've already been downloaded by a bunch of people. It's fucking pointless. They're already there. Good luck. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed. The First Amendment is even more at risk here. The right of people to distribute data that itself should be totally legal and is not a weapon. It's not questionable. It's not a toxin. It's not an explosive. It's not anything illegal. It's just a piece of data. Do we or do we not have the right to distribute it? And if the government can say that this is unacceptable because it relates to weapons, what about a video that depicts firearm milling? What about an audio tape? What about a book? Where does it stop? That's the point. It doesn't. It's a slippery slope, and I don't want to go down it, and I don't think it's constitutionally acceptable to do so. That's about all. Peace out.